people how many people in the room do commercial real estate? Raise your hand.
Consistently or have done?
Right now, doing commercial real estate right now. Wow. One. What type of commercial real estate? Multifamily. Who would like to learn how to make $1 million on their first deal? Good. Just want to tell a little background. I am from Nebraska and big Cornhusker fan. Have a degree in interior design. So a lot of people ask me, how the heck did you go from an interior design major to now investing and developing commercial real estate? And I started my career in the large shopping center development world in project management, design, construction. And then I had a crazy idea that I wanted to open up a restaurant. Does anybody have that crazy idea? Thank goodness. But so, a friend of mine was working at Brinker International. If you've heard of that company, based here in Dallas. They owned 7 different restaurant concepts at the time, and which are Maggiano's, Chili's, Macaroni Grill, On the Border. And so I was a mom, stay-at-home mom, and I wanted to get back in the workforce. So a friend of mine worked at Brinker, and they had a property development position, which means getting the Chili's, open. So I decided to take the position, and boy, did I learn a lot. It really brought me to where I am today on investing in properties. I ended up doing more than 50 pad sites of Chili's from the ground up. And if you've ever done any type of development, built a house, to get 15, I had 15 Chili's I had to get open per year, which meant we had to go through P&Z, City Council, 75 pages of due diligence. We had utilities. They're like, Pam, the utilities are across 6 lanes. Can you bring them over to this pad site? Every obstacle, learning. Really to this day, it's amazing that anything gets built with, everything that you have to go through. But it's all worth it at the time. And I started learning from these landlords that with a Chili's ground lease, a 10-year lease, that they would sell it to an investor for, $850,000 to $1 million plus. So are you familiar with what a ground lease is? Every tenant, like a Starbucks, McDonald's, Chili's, if they're leasing the land, they all are on a lease. They're leasing it from the landlord. So I would meet with the landlord, and I'm like, what are you going to do with this Chili's? They own the land. They're like, I'm going to sell it and make all this money. I'm like, wow, I think I could do that. I'm like, all you have to do is find the land. Chili's builds the building. They lease it from you, and then that 10-year lease, you sell it to an investor and make $1 million. One deal. I'm like, I'm going to do that. So, I'm driving down the road. This song comes on. There's got to be something more. Have you ever heard that song?
Love that song.
By Jennifer Nettles. Love her. Driving down the tollway, stuck in traffic, going to the Brinker office, and I can always tell when I'm ready to quit my job is because I start hating Mondays. So if you hate Mondays, it's time to leave your job. So as I'm driving down the tollway, this song comes on. There's got to be something more. And I keep thinking, how am I going to do this? I was tired of missing my kids' school events. The work was getting too much. I was staying up at night, worried about something else's, problem. I've always been an entrepreneur, wanting to work for myself. My father had his own poultry business, got into real estate a little bit. I knew I had to do something more. So I interviewed several different landlords. How do I get into this? And I found Mr. Jim Kristen, based here in Dallas, 50 years of experience as a mentor. I said, will you take me under your wing to learn how to make this amount of money? Now, and so I ended up, Jimmy took me under his wing, went into my boss's office. The hardest part was giving up all the free food I wanted at the Brinker Concepts and, the income. But I knew that I had, a lot more potential because, working for someone else to make all that money, you kind of get tired of it. So Jimmy and I were business partners for 4 years, and he really, really helped me, form Goodwin Commercial. I wanted to go over our first deal. I left Brinker on good terms, Chili's, and they sent me to, if you know where Copperas Cove, Texas is, down there by Killeen. And I found a good 2 acres property. We put $5,000 down just to hold the land. So all of the deals that I do, I'll put the property under contract. Most of the time I'll either have a tenant that's interested, or I know the property is such a prime property, I'll have good luck of finding a tenant. In this case, we thought we had Chili's. We put it under contract. As soon as we had the LOI about to go forward with Chili's, Chili's decided to put a halt on all of their development projects. And we were doing 135 a year of Chili's. That's like a lot of opening of Chili's a year. They put a complete halt on it. So since we had the property under contract, we ended up getting discount tires. I did. Some tenants will only do a lease, because they want to keep their capital. Some tenants, like a discount tire, all they want to do is buy the property. So they put 1.5 acres under, me and Jimmy did, for $425,000. We sold it for $585,000 to Discount Tires. And the first profit, my first deal within 6 months of doing this, we made a $168,000 profit. And I was hooked on commercial real estate. I'm like, and this is happening everywhere, all day. And the reason I teach these classes is because I am on a mission not to do PowerPoints. I think I got fired today at that, but I am on a mission for everyone to learn how to do commercial real estate, because it is not taught in the real estate school that we go to. It's not taught. Nobody wants to share it. But I'm on a mission. So Donna, she approached me. She came over wanting to learn how to invest real estate. And so I'm so glad that you're here, and your husband and all the Ziegler people, because I feel like I want to break it down in a way that you know how to do your first deal. Just like Heather talked about, you do not have to be, it's such an intimidating world. I still go to conferences. I'm still, it's all men still to this day. So I'm thrilled to see all the women here. So thank you for being here. So this first deal got me hooked. And today I just wanted to go over, we talked about how to find and fund your deal, the access to tenant information so you know where to find the national tenant information, and then examples and deals and profits we made. So that's the 3 major things we're going to go over in the next. I'm going to put 35 years of experience in the next 15 minutes, okay? So it's like I have all this information, but we'll go through this. A lot of questions that I get, a lot of investors think that they have to have a real estate license. So I know Donna and her husband, may want to invest in real estate, and just to let them know, you do not need your real estate license. And I would recommend, with all the brokers, agents in here, is to find someone. You do not need, as a principal, to have your license. And then the other thing I get asked all the time, which I'm very surprised about, but a lot of people do not know that with your real estate license, license, you can do both residential and commercial real estate. So, just wanted to go over that. A lot of questions also are, where do you find these properties? And to me, everything is for sale. And the better ones are the ones that are not on the market. But if you're not, how many are familiar with LoopNet? So most of you are, and that's what we use on pretty much the majority, all in commercial real estate. We do not sign up for the MLS, at least I don't as a commercial broker. I have no access to MLS. I don't even know how to get on it. But most of it is through LoopNet. And how Heather touched on is the Economic Development Director. How many have visited their local Economic Development Director, EDC? Okay, that's because you cheated. You've been in that. We went on a tour to the EDC. But I just wanted to share some information. So this is go on the website to your local EDC. Just Google, whatever city you're in. Odessa EDC. I'm sure Heather knows who it is. This happens to be Frisco. And we can pass this around, but they have so much information. But the biggest thing that they give you is, that I love, is an aerial. This is good for residential also when you're showing clients, because a lot of other agents will not have an aerial, but it just shows you everything and all of the boundaries in the city. Because a lot of cities, especially here in DFW, you have no idea, you have no idea where you're driving. And they'll ask you, am I in Frisco, am I in Plano, am I in McKinney? I'm like, here, let's pull out the map. But this has, a lot of the aerials actually will tell you how many homes are in each suburb. It's a wealth of information. So that's one homework I have for you to do. Are you going to listen to me? I'm going to follow up with you. But every single city will have a package like this in an aerial. So if you want. And then another place that I find a lot of properties is listening to city council meetings. So on Facebook, I know it's kind of weird, my husband would be like, Pam, what are you doing? I'm like, I am watching the Frisco City Council meeting because they have a new development with Walmart going in. They're getting their second Walmart, and they have all these pad sites available. And I feel like that's a lot of people, don't want to do that. Or you can just go on the agenda and find out. Or if you really have time, go to that city council meeting and start meeting those people. That developer of that Walmart will be selling those pad sites most likely. Or it could be Walmart themselves. Or it could be the developer. If you find out that it's going to be this brand new multifamily, new area, you may want to go buy the property next door. So you'll kind of have an insider track on it. And then LinkedIn is a great way to try to, find properties if you're looking for anything. And then a lot of the large national retailers, they all have their own real estate company. But if you just Google Walmart Realty, they list all of their property that is for sale. And I think Walmart does the best job for all of their due diligence work I have ever seen. And I would just take it and copy of what they do. If you're ever selling a property, follow what they do. Because I talk to brokers all the time, and I like to, especially the younger ones, I like to quiz them, what's this zoned? And they're like, I don't know. I mean, so many people have no idea what they're even selling. So if you follow the Walmart due diligence form, it's very helpful. And then just go on a lot of the brokerage firms in the area, the CBRE, the JLL. Look at the signs in your area, and you'll see Ziegler Realty. Go on their website, because a lot of the LoopNet and CoStar, if you've ever heard of CoStar, CoStar owns LoopNet, and it's very expensive to put your properties on all those listings, so a lot of companies will not do that. So it's better just to go to the individual websites and look for all their properties for sale. don't know if you have any questions about finding property. But if you're around me long enough, you'll know that I always say everything is for sale. And it's just a matter of time and money. I mean, I've worked on deals like Heather, she worked the Chamber of Commerce. I worked, a landowner for a couple of years. But, so, if you have, I usually talk about having a separate business card that says investor. Do you have that? Like a $10 business card. So every one of you now is a real estate investor. That's right. Commercial real estate investor. $10. Put your name, put real estate investor. But every time I go to the dry cleaners, the doctors, the gas station, your favorite restaurant, your gym, I talk to all those people because they're always, the dry cleaner in my neighborhood, I go, do you know this drive-through? Because it's hard to get a drive-through these days. This would be a perfect McDonald's location. Have you ever considered it? And then, started a conversation. And it ended up where he ended up selling it to another dry cleaners, but I did get that brokerage fee, and we relocated him, and then I got that fee. So just know that everything is for sale. I know it drives my kids crazy and my husband, because I'm like, so have you ever thought about, in the restaurant, they're like, Mom, how come you always have to ask him? I'm like, because you want to go on that beach trip. And this is my favorite app. Are you using Landglide?
Yes, I love it. It's amazing.
So Landglide, and I should get paid from them, but I don't. I think it's like $7.95, but it will save you so much time, because when you pull up wherever you are a property, this is for residential and commercial property. So now, when I started using it, I was finding out who all my neighbors were and what they paid for their house, all the information. But it's really great for commercial real estate because it lays out the property boundary, and then at the bottom it tells you who's paying taxes on the property, and then it connects you directly to the tax assessor. So all that information, before I would have to go home, write down the address, go to the separate tax assessor, and then, I'd have to do all this work. But Landglide, and I know there's a lot of other apps out there too, but this one I really, really like, because, like I said, if I'm parked somewhere and I see an old Dairy Queen for sale, I'll just do a screenshot of it as a reminder to call them. And then the other question I get, Pam, I'm sure you're thinking this would be great to invest in commercial real estate, but I don't have any money. I'm sure that's crossed your mind. And wanted to tell you, and we'll go through some of my deals here, but all of the deals at the beginning, I never put any of my own money down. Always, always use other people's money. And people will always hear me say, in commercial real estate, if you want to buy a property or a deal, the easiest thing on the deal is finding the money. I mean, there is millions and trillions of dollars out there. I was just looking up U.S. grants for development. Even our city of Louisville has grants for redevelopment. There is so much money out there now for small business owners for development. Your 401k. Here's this guy right here. I saw him at a conference. If you can see that, he's like, "Get money, banks won't lend you." He's walking around with this sign. I mean, if you have to, wear a sign around your neck. That'll look good, huh? But that's the thing I always teach is money is really, on LinkedIn, I'm looking for a piece of property. I'm swamped by people wanting to lend money. So if you find a deal, I guarantee you will always find the money. And I will help you because I have a lot of people in that area. Another thing I wanted to touch is that people ask is, how do I find a national tenant? And all you have to do is go to most of their websites will list. This is McDonald's, and at the bottom of the website it shows their real estate. It just shows their real estate, and if you click that, it actually tells you a site plan, how many cars they need per day, what side of the street they need to be on. Certain tenants, like a Starbucks, always want to be on the going to work side. Walgreens feel like they, you get your prescriptions going home side. So all those tenants have different things. But this is for McDonald's. And we also have a lot of conferences. I'm like a magician, like, what is she doing? We have a lot of conferences and a lot of events you can go to, and I always love sharing those events. One that's excellent that to go to is in Austin every year. It's called Retail Live, and I'll pass this book around. This was just the 2021 trade show, but that's where almost a lot of the national real estate managers will have a booth, and they tell you exactly how many square footage they want, how much it just gives all the information if you want to pass that around. Because even from Brinker, working for a public company as Brinker, and at the time when they're opening up 135 locations at that time, they're telling their shareholders that they have to open up locations. So if you're driving around your area, you keep thinking, Pam, that would be a great McDonald's location. I'm sure we've all done it in your communities. That would be a great Chick-fil-A. That would be a great Starbucks. And then you keep thinking, we need a Starbucks there, we need a Starbucks there. And then 2 years later, you're like, somebody else put the Starbucks there. If you're thinking that that tenant needs to be there, they will, go there. And I wanted just to highlight about McDonald's. Has anybody seen the movie The Founder? What do you think?
I think it was awesome, brilliant.
So how many people know that McDonald's is actually a $30 billion real estate company? And they are only flipping burgers to pay rent. And that's what a lot of these tenants do. They're in the real estate business. And that's what I want all of you to be, in the real estate business. There's a lot of people I know that bought one Jimmy John's, and now they have 20 of them. Each one makes about a little over 100,000 each profit. So you add that up, you have to have multiple of them. But that's how a lot of people get wealthy, is buying a franchise and then putting those everywhere. But that's McDonald's. But The Founder, the movie, will really go in detail of how they started their real estate business. This is a project. This was after we did the Copper's Cove deal and flipped that land. This was my first big land development deal in the beautiful city of Tyler, Texas. Who was from Tyler, East Texas? So a friend of mine who was actually doing Chase real estate, she was a real estate manager. I'm like, Terry, send me to a location so I can go find you. I was really hungry. Send me to a location. So she's like, Pam, I have no idea if we'll do another deal in Tyler, Texas, but go out there. And so I went out there and ended up doing 3 Chase Bank deals with her. And this was one that took a while. This is a land deal that we did a build-to-suit for Walgreens, ground lease for Chase, and then a ground lease for McDonald's. It was a total of 5 acres that we did. And where the Walgreens is today, it was the Rose City Motel. This guy would not sell his motel. And I drove out there every week. Like I know that route inside out. Kept driving out there, meeting with him, would not give up. I would sit be on the other side of the loop in my car, and I kept visioning, Walgreens is going on that corner. Walgreens is going on that corner. I just kept visioning it. I know I was crazy. And then, because the guy had every excuse, my dad's out of the country, I'm like, okay. Next thing, I'm like, okay, you are going, I'm like, Mr. Patel, I'm tired of driving out here, what will you sell this property for? He sells it for little property, $2.6 million. In reality, the thing was probably worth about $500,000 in the land. But we bought it and worked it out with Walgreens and did that deal with them, and then we did the Chase deal, and we did McDonald's. So it goes over the numbers, how at the time, the 4 investors, we ended up, myself, Jimmy, and we got 2 other people who had done a Walgreens build-a-suit, because a lot of times they have a preferred developer, so we brought them in. And so the 4 of us went into this deal. We put no money down because at the time, the banks were not requiring money down. They used Walgreens, as collateral for the development. And then we ended up selling it for a couple years later, and each partner made, $700,000. And this is one that I did and provided the sweat equity. Those 3 guys were like, Pam, what's taking you so long? What's taking you so long? But I did all of the sweat equity and found this corner. So this is another building, and I just would like, you see these buildings all over town, correct? All over your communities. So what would you do with this building?
Is it a corner?
It's the second building on the corner. Looks like it's a pretty junky building, huh? Well, knowing the market, this is another property in Tyler. I kind of found Tyler, Texas, because none of the real estate brokers here in DFW wanted to drive 90 miles. And so I find the small communities home runs, roll out the red carpet to bring you tenants. And that's really why, I really like doing this, because when I worked at Chili's, I would see them, even though it was a Chili's in these communities, they loved it, so they had a place for their family. I ended up putting this building under contract with my friend Terry, who was with Chase Bank. She no longer worked there. And I asked her if she wanted to partner up. And I knew it was a good corner. We ended up turning it into a mattress firm. And I do have to say, when I wanted to buy this building, everybody I brought it to said, Pam, that is way too much of an expensive building. You will never get it. And in the past, I had listened to them, because you're like, okay, they're smarter than I do, these guys. I'm going to pass it up. Not this time. We put it under contract. I was able to get Mattress Firm. Even my husband said, Pam, you will never get $30 rents. And he was right. I got $33 rents. So we ended up, we bought it for $600,000. We put $150,000 in. And then with a 10-year lease with Mattress Firm, we sold it for $1.38 million and made a profit of $630. So a property like this, I put it under contract. I mean, I've put some commercial properties under as low as $300 to put I had an existing KFC in Sherman for $300 contract. It's $300,000. This one, I usually only put $5,000 down, so that's probably about what we put. And so we were able to get that profit. And then we ended up buying, the same owner had both properties, and this was an existing tenant with Texas car title, which is another way to get into commercial real estate. And then we bought it for that much. We had an existing lease on it. We sold it to an investor in that one. So the combined two, her and I, we made over $1 million on that deal. And the reason I'm telling you that is it's these small little buildings that you probably drive by that think, what can I do with it? It looks junky. I can't make that much money off of it, right? So I'm really here just to show you some of these opportunities that you may not have thought about in the past, that you're driving by, that you're like, can put a tenant in there. And we primarily deal with the national tenants, because they're the ones that sell at a better investment rate, and that's what investors want to buy. And here's a friend of mine, Kimberly. She came to me. So if you've ever had an idea, Pam, I want to open up a restaurant. I learned quickly that I wanted to own the real estate instead of the restaurant in those days. But I don't know, a lot of people think, how can I get into commercial real estate? You may have a fitness company. I helped a lady who had a jewelry store. This is Kimberly. She came to me as a consultant. She used to place senior living people all over town. And she came up with all these great ideas. This one had a great massage, and this one had a great living room, and this, all of this stuff. And she goes, I'm going to do it myself. And so she found 2 acres of property, but she had no financing on how to build it. So she hired me as a consultant to help her build her dream business of these homes for the elderly. And with her help and my help, we were able to get her a $3 million SBA loan, nothing down. The SBA bank lender used the land as her equity. And she just opened up a couple of these in Denton, and now she plans on opening the other 2. So another great way, if you're a business owner, another couple I helped, like I said, in the jewelry business, they were leasing for 30 years, which I can't stand if anybody's leasing properties. I can show them any formula. It's, less to buy a building, build equity, than it is to really lease a building. And so, I helped them buy a small condo building for $300,000. Every single one of them comes back to me because a lot of these women, for some reason, women have extreme fear. I mean, Julie talked about being fearless, but I have to push these women over the cliff. I have to write it out, do it, spread it. I go, all right, I'll see you later. I'm going to help the other one. They're ready to go, and they're like, wait. And then once we get it done, they always tell me they wish they would have done it sooner, and they're ready to buy the next building every single time. And then this is I'm almost done. This is a small building my husband and I bought, and this is a good way to get started in commercial real estate. And I'm happy to share my slide presentation with you too, if you want me to email it. But this was just a 1 tenant. You see these small office condos being built everywhere. And this was one that we bought for $300,000. We put $60,000 down. This is the first property, and I've done a lot of development deals, and I showed you just a few. This is the first one that I was 100% owner. My husband and I, we used our own money. We put $60,000 down, and then after it shows what we were making per month and then per year of cash flow. And we just sold it a couple years ago in 2019 for $395,000. So for a few years, we were able to get that cash flow so that we could pay our boys, high school off. And so these little buildings are good to use because this equity building, you could take for another. That's how a lot of commercial real estate investors get very wealthy. They start with a small one like this, and then they use the equity for the next one and the next one, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. But the thing I've learned, that these small deals take as long as the big deals, so skip the small deals and go straight for the big deals. Skip having a little event for breast cancer that we were going to donate 10% and have Dolly Parton. You have to really start thinking big, because actually the bigger deals take less time than these smaller deals. The older I get, the less patience I have. And so I saw this driving down 635. So if your in-laws you're there, not your retirement plan. And then if you want any information on my link tree, it has the books. We're going to do a drawing I've written a couple books. It has all of the information on my websites. We also do the Pam Goodwin show, that if you have not thought about doing a podcast or a video show about your business, It's like the #1 marketing thing that you can do, and I do it right here at Venture X. We have a studio back here where I tape the shows and do Zoom, but it's a great way to, to get business. The other #1 thing that everybody wants to do lead generation. Do you guys get those calls or on LinkedIn? Do you need help with lead generation? I'm like, no, I have enough business. The #1 thing that works for me is the Google reviews. How many people are using Google reviews for yourself as an agent or business? But as a commercial real estate, we do not use Google reviews. You typically see it in a hotel, restaurant. I have 26 reviews, which is not very many, but anytime I ask somebody, how did you find my name? They all said, well, I just Googled and your name kept popping up. So that's one marketing tip. And with the COVID and then the breast cancer that got in the way, I'm just getting, so I feel like I had COVID brain and I had chemo brain and now I have like PowerPoint brain to add to that, so excuse me for that. But I will be offering, genuinely love training and helping people. I think Heather, and Julie and Dee Dee, they've all sat through my classes or VIP. And I don't do them very often, but I will have a new one coming up in July. And I'll only be taking, a few people. So if you want to email me, or if you have any interest to just send me a text, we can have a 30-minute free consultation, and I will go over, with you if you have any interest, and if you wanted to learn. It'll be a 3-month course for 12 weeks. And I will be teaching it. I will be bringing friends on, real estate managers from McDonald's, from the Container Store, different banks, lenders, EDC people, whatever you want to learn. I mean, I really want to help you so that you feel confident and not out there yourself. You cannot do commercial real estate by yourself. All these big guys, these projects, they all collaborate with people. Somebody I'm working with now, I'm doing a lot of airport development these days because the retail, restaurant world kind of slowed down. And so I was asked to do some airport development, and which means, for example, if you've been out to Mineral Wells, Texas, do you have?
Well, I live in Weatherford.
Oh, you live in Weatherford. Okay, well we are the master developer working on Mineral Wells, 500 acres. And Mineral Wells is now, if you want to Google the Baker Hotel, the guy in our office, they are redeveloping it, Laird Fairchild. So they want the airport, private or planes. We're talking to a movie studio, for soundstage because they're filming Yellowstone out there. And so that's just, a great way. If you want to look at odd opportunities, go to your local airport, find an airport, and they are doing so much development. They're looking for restaurants, hotels, outside, surprisingly, like DFW, they own 18,000 acres, and Mineral Wells 500 acres, but they all have a lot of property for a lot of opportunities out there, and private people can actually buy a lot of that land from the airports. So they all have their own real estate department too. I'm starting to lose my voice. So, my favorite Zig Ziglar quote, I had to give this, but if you have everything in life you want, if you will just help other people get what they want. So, if I can help in any way, please feel free to call me, feel free to call Julie and Dee Dee and Heather. We started these events, like they said, 4 or 5 years ago, really to help teach people, because I attend a lot of events, and I wanted to hopefully provide you with some information that you can, take home and use. So I hope you enjoyed that. And thank you for being here. I'm glad, showed up, and we're happy to answer any questions, or I'm happy to answer if you're ready, or if you're all ready to go have a cocktail or margarita, or how's everybody doing? that was only like a small little snippet of what we, if you have any interest too, I used to have a TV show on commercial real estate. So if you're on YouTube, you can Google my name under Propelio or just Pam Goodwin Commercial Real Estate. I was mentoring Shelby. She was like 35 years old, how to get into commercial real estate. And we were posting it on Facebook. And just from doing that TV show, I'm an international celebrity because people are reaching out to me wanting to learn. I had a lady from Napa Valley reach out to me wanting to buy some property in Texas. So that's another great way to do those live video shows. But we provided a lot of content on that show. And then if you want to learn just commercial real estate in general, like the terms, cap rate, ground lease, there's so much information on YouTube. I recommend that too. But the number one thing is really collaborating, with someone. So I'm out here also speaking to say, Pam, I have a property. Let's team up. I go, great. Let's team up so you don't have to do it yourself. And I'm always fair and create a partnership with that. And I never take a piece of property that either of us would waste our time. I only do it if I'm at least 50% know that we can get a national tenant and create the pro forma and know how much profit we're going to make. So it's a good way to learn on those first deals. But the first one is always the hardest. So once, like Heather said, once you get past that first one, and every day, I've been in this for 35 years, large shopping center development, landlord, now tenant side. Every day I am still learning. I still have to look up stuff. I have to, ask different people of what they've done because the market's changing and the contracts, they keep adding stuff. And it's hard, all that. I could go on and on and on. Thank you. Do you want to?
But we did want to give you maybe 3 minutes or so. If anybody has any questions they want to ask, this is it. This is the time. Raise your hand. 1 minute.
Have you set the dates for your 12-week?
It'll be right after the July 4th holiday.
Yeah, so be sure and email or text Pam if you want to know about her class so she can let you know when it's going to be. Anybody else? Anybody? We really appreciate you coming. We really appreciate you coming here and hearing what we have to say. I hope, we all hope, that you take what we said and diversify yourself, make more commission, service your clients better, get your dollar and make how much?
It's unlimited. It's abundant.
It's abundant. It's amazing, actually, really. And I want to say one more thing about Pam. If you have a deal, like you're driving around Odessa or Tyler and you see something, if you call her, she'll work it with you. She's very good about helping you, and that's what she'll be your mentor and help you work that deal. Weatherford, find a deal, call Pam.
I did
She'll
the
help you.
Chili's in Weatherford. That's when nothing was out there. And now it's moved.
All right, well, we want to give y'all a hand, and let's everybody give